Blessings. Welcome to today's Law Enforcement Daily Devotional. Today our read was out of a part of Zechariah that just has some incredible prophetic words, lots of prophecy about the end times, about Jesus coming. Well, I take it back on the end times. There are some things that you could take as end time prophecy, but the majority of it is prophecy about Jesus coming. And I want to get right into it because there's quite a few um, and so much so that I may not be able to finish today. But starting in Zechariah 9:9. Oh, our read today, if you read ahead, Zechariah chapters 9 through 14. Starting in 9:9, it says, "Rejoice greatly, O daughter of Zion. Shout in triumph over, O daughter of Jerusalem. Behold, your king is coming to you. He is just and endowed with salvation, humble, and mounted on a donkey, even a colt, the foal of a donkey." So, with that introduction, I'm sure you know exactly who this is speaking of here in Zechariah, the Old Testament. Jesus is coming in the New Testament, and that's quite a ways away. But here we see um, he's endowed with salvation. No human up to that point had ever been endowed with salvation. He's humble, mounted on a donkey, even a colt, a foal of a donkey. If we jump over to Matthew chapter 21 and we read verses 1 and 2, it says, when they had approached Jerusalem and had come to Bethpage at the Mount of Olives, then Jesus sent two disciples, saying to them, "Go into the village opposite you, and immediately you will find a donkey tied there and a colt with her. Untie them and bring them to me." And then Jesus made his triumphal entry into Jerusalem. You may know this better as Palm Sunday, where the palms are laid down, and Jesus, they throw their coats and their cloaks on the donkey, and Jesus sits on it, and he rides in, and the children, everybody's screaming. The Pharisees get upset and say, "Do you not hear what these children are saying?" And it's just a wonderful beginning to that Passion Week. That week where Jesus confronts the Pharisees, and it leads right up to his arrest, his 6 trials, and his crucifixion and death, and then his resurrection. So this Passion Week, man, that's the beginning of it. That's what starts it all. Love that. Then in Zechariah chapter 11 verse 12 it says, "I say to them, if it is good in your sight, give me my wages, but if not, never mind." So they weighed out 30 shekels of silver as my wages. Then the Lord said to me, "Throw it to the potter, that the magnificent price which I was valued by them." So I took the 30 shekels of silver and I threw them to the potter in the house of the Lord. There's 3 things that stand out here. First, there's the amount, the 30 shekels of silver. Remember that one. Number 2, he was to throw it to the potter. Now, why this would be important, I'm sure Zechariah had no idea. And number 3, it happened in the house of the Lord. So we read in Matthew chapter 26, verses 14 through 16, "Then one of the 12, the one called Judas Iscariot, went to the chief priests and asked, 'What are you willing to give me if I deliver him over to you?' So they counted out for him 30 pieces of silver. From then on, Judas watched for an opportunity to hand him over." Then in Matthew 27, 5 through 10, "So Judas threw the money into the temple and left it. Then he went away and hanged himself. The chief priest picked up the coins and said, 'It is against the law to put this money into the treasury since it's blood money.' So they decided to use the money to buy the potter's field. So they decided to use the money to buy the potter's field as a burial place for foreigners." Okay, you've got the 3 things that Zechariah talked about here. You got the 30 pieces of silver, the fact that they were thrown in the temple, and instead of being thrown to a potter, they bought the potter's field. Prophetic about Christ. Again, Zechariah is just loading up on these. Then we jump over chapter 12, verse 10. It says, and I will pour out on the house of David and the inhabitants of Jerusalem a spirit of grace and supplication. They will look on me, the one they have pierced, and they will mourn for him as one mourns for an only child, and grieve bitterly for him as one who grieves for a firstborn son. Well, number one, we know Jesus was pierced during the crucifixion. Jesus was an only child. He's God's only son, John 3:16. And he was obviously the firstborn son because he was an only son, but firstborn son carries with it the rights of inheritance and so much more symbolism that we just don't have time to get into. But that's in Zechariah chapter 12, verse 10. Zechariah 13:1. On that day a fountain will be opened to the house of David and the inhabitants of Jerusalem to cleanse them from their sin and impurity. A fountain flowing with water to cleanse them of their sins. A fountain will be opened up. Man, I got to think he's talking about the Holy Spirit that comes after Jesus is resurrected. A fountain that flows, or a fountain that water flows from, water, living water, the Holy Spirit to cleanse us. In chapter 14, verse 8, the next chapter over, it says, in that day, living water will flow out of Jerusalem. So this all lines up. Back to chapter 13, verse 2, on that day I will banish the names of the idols from the land, and they will be remembered no more, declares the Lord Almighty. I will remove both the prophets and the spirit of impurity from the land. I can go on. There's more in Zechariah in this reading. I hope you read it all, and I hope you caught these. But this Zechariah, these verses read like the New Testament. It is so cool that the Old Testament, everything about it is pointing to Jesus Christ and his coming. Such a neat read. Tomorrow we're jumping into the book of Esther, and we're going to read chapters 1 through 4. It's going to be really good, so read up and then come back here tomorrow. In the meantime, you guys be safe.